Canon versus Legends. As of recent years, there has been a large divide in the fanbase between the EU fans and the Canon fans. For EU fans, you have those who just don't like the sequel trilogy and some other Canon material, but like most of the Canon material, or a lot of it. And then you just have EU fans who just absolutely hate everything that's Canon. But then on the other hand, you have Canon fans who know nothing about the EU or just don't like it in general because they prefer only small-scale, low-stakes, self-contained stories. But personally, I like most Canon material, but I also like a lot of Legends material too. And where I'm getting at is it's understandable why a lot of Expanded Universe fans aren't happy with how Star Wars has been handled. The fact that decades of comics, books, and video games that they had grown a deep connection with were just suddenly decanonized 2 years after George Lucas sold Star Wars to the big mouse. And honestly, I personally wouldn't be happy either if I found out that a lot of the good canon material was just being decanonized all of a sudden. So we're going to fix this issue. But the question is how do we fix this issue? Well, that's what we'll explore in Chapter 2, Compromise. So, we've talked about the divide, but let's see how we can rectify that. And it's simple. We just simply scrap canon and re-establish the EU as the official canon. I'm just kidding. No, we are not doing that. Because just like I hinted at earlier in the video, we'd just be doing the exact same thing that the former Star Wars president did with the EU in the first place. But let's get back to how we fix this issue. So, what we're going to do is take a note out of YouTuber Bombastic's book and create a Star Wars multiverse. Except, we're not going to do it the way Marvel does it, where it's countless universes. Instead, we're going to just have a couple of universes. We'll have Disney's canon, obviously, EU, which will now officially be its own canon, and it'll be called the EUC, which will stand for Expanded Universe Canon, and Disney's canon will be known as the DCU, Disney Canon Universe. And then to finish it all off, we're going to have at least a few LEGO Star Wars universes, which will include all the ones from the Rebuild the Galaxy movies, and then one that consists of the Yoda and Han mini movie, Yoda Chronicles, the little mini movie with Darth Maul and Vader, the new Yoda Chronicles, Droid Tales, the Freemakers, and then of course, the 3 post-sequel mini movies that had Rey, Poe, and Finn as a main character in each of them. That way, they're all canon. And everyone can have their own preferred canon, whether it's the EU, or Disney's canon, or more LEGO Star Wars mini movies or shows. Because when it comes to those LEGO movies and shows, they really do put out some great ones. I mean, Rebuild the Galaxy was incredible. But let's get back to this little compromise / kind of rewrite. Basically, we'll keep having the Disney canon movies, shows, etc. But we're also going to do the same for the EU. Obviously, the EU can still have all their comic books, and video games, because that's part of what made the EU so special. But if there's going to be movies or shows that are just in the EU universe, we're going to have a QR code on each of the movies and a little thing, like a little trademark that says EU. Then the QR code will take you to a website that will briefly summarize what the EU is, and then there'll be a whole section after that where it goes into more detail if anyone wants to read that. But all that big amount of information will just be a choice. And it'll just talk about all the EU stuff. So there's some clarification on each universe. So basically, the EU will no longer be Legends, but rather an official different canon in its own universe, just like the LEGO shows and movies. And that way, most people will be happy, and if a fan of one universe is actively hating on the others, then that'll just because they've simply chosen to do that, rather than them actually having a valid reason to do so. And it'll allow Star Wars to feel more expansive, and if we ever want some sort of multiverse battle, then we can, and it's just gonna bring more new fans to a larger and interesting Star Wars multiverse. And there you have it. Now obviously, it's not perfect, but is anything perfect? But that's it, that's my sort of like rewrite, or what I would have done if I was to suddenly be asked to take the helm of Disney currently. And look, it's not going to stop everyone from hating on Disney and their canon material, but with my coming rewrites planned, there won't be any reason to dislike canon or find it boring / unsatisfying. Because this video was also a little introduction of bigger Star Wars rewrite videos that looks at each era of Disney canon Star Wars and how we can improve them, creating a much larger and cooler Star Wars universe. What do you guys think? Please let me know down in the comments below. And thank you guys so much for watching. Keep rewriting, and I'll see you guys next time on Star Wars Rewrites.